Here is a picture of Roronoa Zoro that I drew quite some time ago, brothers and sisters. So if you enjoyed this type of drawing and more from me, remember to follow me on all the social networks like the Google+, the Facebook, the Twitter, and even the Instagram.
A One Piece, chapter 164. I love my country. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the tantalizing tale of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us with, of course, the Straw Hats making it to Yuba, only to find out that it was, deserted, and has been overtaken by the drought and of course the the sandstorms and things like that. Vivi ran into an older gentleman by the name of Toto, and wound up making the connection and realizing and seeing through a flashback who this particular guy was. And then the rest of the chapter took place in a flashback. At the end of said flashback, we saw Vivi 11 years ago as a child, befriending Toto's son Koza, them kind of playing and having this little sand band, and ultimately at the end, Vivi was being chased by a couple of, it looked like they were like older boys, but ultimately my thoughts were that somebody that found out that it was the princess trying to kidnap her, hold her for ransom, what have you. So that's where things left off. That's where things pick up, and this is kind of cool, this chapter. It helps, it takes place primarily in the flashback still, but helps to kind of connect some of the dots about this rebellion and what's happened and everything else. We know, of course, that, a few years ago with everything that happened and Sir Crocodile, basically framing, the king, King Cobra, which is just kind of cool to say. So, that's what started the rebellion and has kind of torn the country apart from the inside out. We wind up seeing in this one, obviously it picks up right where it left off. Vivi's running like hell. Koza goes and tells the Sand Band, basically to get in between her and these two or three older boys, whatever, bandits, whatever you want to call them. And they are, in fact, looking to try to kidnap Vivi and hold her for ransom, which we find out. And he tells them, he says, Sand Band, protect her with your lives. So they wind up getting their asses handed to them. They're all bloodied and beaten, and they go running off after Vivi into some ruins. Koza goes running off after them as well, and then we go and we see, because of course Igaram as well as the king, they would kind of go undercover, so to speak, and are still worried about Vivi just kind of being out amongst the commoners and being outside of the palace and the protection that's there. So they had both followed her anyway to around where Koza's parents lived and everything like that. So they go and find out that in fact this happened. She's trying to be kidnapped and all this other stuff from the fallen Sand Band members, and they go presumably chasing after them towards these ruins. We then go and we see really kind of a touching thing, because you can assume that these kids are probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 years old, something like that, and really to have this much intestinal fortitude, we'll call it, at that age is really, to me, it's very impressive. Because what winds up happening is Vivi, of course, has gone and run into the ruins and kind of hid. And as these, it looks like there's 3 assailants, have kind of come upon her, Koza stands in between them, and he's got nothing but a piece of wood, like a club, And one of the guys goes and pulls out a sword, and he's like, listen, he's like, just get out of the way, otherwise, I'm going to cut you down otherwise. And he's like, I'm not afraid of you. And he's like, have you ever been cut? It really hurts, that type of thing. And in the next panel, because he's standing firm, man. He's ready to die. And the next panel, just this grisly slash across his face. And of course, the way it's drawn, you just see like the back of his head and the blood spurting out. So you don't know what happened. You don't know if he cut off half his face, if he got his eye, what. Well, and then you wind up seeing Koza, and Koza's, his blood just running down. So you don't know if he got his eye again. But then, a couple of panels later, after there's this huge, like, just clash, right? You wind up seeing this bigger, full-grown adult or larger, whatever you want to call it, a large teenager, I don't know. Wind up, he's on the ground and he is just foobarred, right? So Koza's little ass, with blood running down his face after getting cut, and only nothing but a wooden club in there, or whatever it was, a piece of a chicken leg, I don't know, beats the living shit out of the other one. So the other 2 are then like, oh, you hurt our brethren, or our homie, whatever the hell you want to say, their little gang, and they're going to go and come after him, and that's when Igaram and King Cobra show up and just, they're just annihilated with really no effort at all. Obviously they see that Koza is hurt. They also know they need to get some medical help for the Sand Band. And really what this did is this whole sequence served really just to show how people think of Vivi already at such a young age. Now, I understand they're kids, they're friends, this and that. But really, for me, this illustrated what type of person Vivi was going to become. She was crying because she was upset that he told them, to the Sand Band, to lay down their lives for Princess Vivi. Then when they're back at the palace, and he's all bandaged up and everything like that, and you don't know if he's only going to have one eye or what, because he's got bandages all over the whole left side of his face. He says, yeah, listen, because she goes, you told them to die for me. He goes, yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where he loves this kingdom. He understands that sometimes you will have to go and lay down your life, or put yourself in harm's way to save another that he feels is more important, or is destined to be more important, because she's going to be this princess, obviously. Well, she is a princess, but she's going to eventually be this ruler of the land. So for me, I really liked it. I thought it was cool, and ultimately, it gains even more respect from the king. The king winds up then shortly after that, after we have that little exchange about, of course, I die for my country, I love my country, and King Cobra is like, yes, me too. Igaram winds up talking about how Vivi's, weak because she's too emotional, is basically what he says. And King Cobra says, he corrects him, and he says, no, you know what, that's what we need. That's what this country needs. It needs somebody that cares, and that's going to put some emotion into things. So for me, that there was a lot of little subtle things going on in this chapter as well. So I definitely enjoyed it. And then we wind up getting the king goes, and he says, and we presume it's a few days later or what have you, winds up calling Toto, Koza's father, and says, tells him that we wind up, the news is delivered through Vivi from Koza and everything else, but ultimately what happens is the king has chosen, Koza's family, Toto and his mother and everything, to go and to build up Yuba, the oasis in the desert. It's going to be this great crossroads in the desert, blah, 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 and he's going to basically build it up into this great city. I'm assuming that now it's just this small settlement, maybe camps, tents, small huts, whatever, and he's going there on the king's orders, with the king's backing, the king's people, the king's money, however that's working, to build this up into a city, into a, kind of a major, thoroughway for people traveling through the desert. So they're great western desert. So it's kind of cool, and then there's sort of a tearful, goodbye between Koza and Vivi, but they know they'll see each other again. And Koza, he's telling her, you're going to be a great princess, and and I look forward to seeing you again, and she's going to come visit once it's built up, and blah blah blah, right? And like I said, this all takes place 11 years ago. So as we go and we kind of come out of that thing, we realize that was just sort of Toto reminiscing about what happened through his personal flashback, because then we see him, and it's of course present time. They're in Yuba, and he's explaining to them. He's like, listen, the rebels are feel like they're backed in a corner, and ultimately this next battle is going to be the decisive battle. It's going to be because they feel like they have nothing left. They have no other options. They've turned against the kingdom because they feel the kingdom's wronged them. So the shit's about to go down, right? You better get ready. So he begs Princess Vivi. He's like, you got to stop this, And then we go and we see in a little bit of a turn of events. I didn't really see it coming, but then I thought about it, because at first I was thinking with the cut across the face, the way it was, I was thinking that maybe Koza grew up to be Sir Crocodile, because he's got the thing across his face with looks like stitches, or like the Frankenstein looking thing. But then I was thinking, no, I don't think that would. 11 years, I don't know if that's enough time to grow up, rise to power as this Shishibukai, is that what the seven warlords are called? And then all the other things that he's done, you know what I mean? So, in the interim. But, and we don't even know that much yet about him. But that was my initial thought. We see in the last page, though, we see that the leader of the rebels is, in fact, Koza. And he's sitting at Kataria, and that's, of course, the oasis that's very close to Nanohana, where they just were. And he's sitting back there, and one of his minions comes in and talks to him about something, and he says, this country has gone to the dogs, So we see that it's Koza, whose little dumb ass decided to go and grow up 11 years ago, moved there with daddy, believed in the country and everything else, and then 8 years ago was so fucking stupid to go and fall for some kind of plot and think that the king that had treated him and brought him in with open arms and his family and had done right by him at every fucking turn, he somehow, and we'll find out hopefully why, decided that, oh no, this king is actually only in it for himself, and and basically he believed the setup. He bought into the hype, and for me that's kind of weak personally, because it really seemed like this flashback was built up to show that this Koza really truly believed in the monarchy, in the country, the people behind the country, and just the country itself. So I'm sure that he's doing the wrong things for the right reasons, type of situation. We'll find out hopefully more in the next chapters, the chapters to come. But ultimately, I'm a little disappointed in his lack of resolve at this point. So, but that again, that's just my personal opinion. So, my chapter question is: did you, as you were reading through this, and I know many of you just probably marathon and just read chapter after chapter after chapter. I don't do that. I can't do that the way I'm doing this. Everyone knows that. I have to stop after each and every chapter. But for that brief moment when you stopped at the end of last chapter, or you were reading this chapter, did you know, or did you feel like you knew that Koza, Toto's son, was going to be the leader of the rebels? Or did you think something entirely different? Or did you just really not think anything at all about it because we haven't heard a whole lot about this rebellion yet? So there's really been no reason to think about it. So leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and then subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
Why does Buggy look so distraught, brothers and sisters? Probably because you haven't liked or commented, rated, shared, or even subscribed. But as always, thank you for doing all those things and being a part of the nation, and we'll catch you in the next one.